Hi, everyone, and welcome to step 5, your spiritual brand. So, if you're on this video, you should have done step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and now into step 5. If you haven't done all of the other steps, I would urge you to do it because there is reasons. When we're building a business, when we are getting on marketing, right, there's actually fundamental things that we should be trying to focus on and make sure that they're right first before we get to the branding part. But often businesses do a lot of things back to front. I would urge you, if you haven't done step 1, 2, 3, or 4, to make sure that you go back to that first. So in today's session, we're going to talk about some of the fundamental things about creating a more soul-aligned spiritual brand. So I think, first of all, it's important to start and remind people what a brand really means. And I think there can be a lot of confusion around the word brand and what that really means for a variety of reasons. So in many ways, when you think about a brand or even a brand identity, it's basically a way of identifying your business in a marketplace. So even if you don't show up, for example, if your logo, your colors, your font, your theme, your style should help a consumer identify you from other people in the marketplace. And the easiest way to explain it is when you go in and you go to your local food shop and maybe you're looking for your favorite drink or your favorite food. You maybe have a brand that you like and you have come to recognize that brand because the way it's packaged. It could be the logo, it could be the colors, it could be the design, and or even how the packaging's done. These are key components, and in many ways, it is a bit of psychology because that business has created a certain type of package to align with you, and that's what makes you, their ideal consumer. In many ways, a spiritual business is very similar, right? There is a few things that obviously as a more spiritual business and particularly a soul aligned spiritual business, which I think I should define that as well in a little minute. But even when a spiritual business, you want to be even more, your packaging and how you're standing out has to be more transparent, in many ways more honest. Because we all know that most types of marketing is based on, in many ways, a lot of really, really manipulative and sometimes really dishonest strategies, right? And we can be in a situation where we know we need to stand out from the crowd. We know we need to be able to be identified, be able to, our clients to be able to identify us from these noisy online platforms. But we want to do it in an authentic way. We want to do it in a way that is aligned with our business core values and that our marketing message is clear and concise in a way that our audience understands us. And that is why I love using brand archetypes. Now, I do use it in a spiritual way and more, I try and use it in a more soul-aligned way because brand archetypes are an amazing way to capture the certain core values and traits of certain brands and other things. But like a lot of things in the modern world, archetypes have been taken and really manipulated in the marketing industry to often imply things that are not really true. We're going to use it in a more soul-aligned business to represent the truth rather than represent what we would just like our clients to think they will experience. We're about using those archetypal traits to basically help your audience get a feeling, right? And a sense of what it is like to work with you. because every business is unique. Every business has its unique strengths, its gifts, its innate gifts. And every business, because of its different types of products and services, will have different core values and traits related to it. And if you don't know what archetypes are basically just a representation of, like, the easiest way to explain it, even though this is not technically quite the correct word, is it's almost like personality traits, right? And the easiest way to explain it, a typical archetype would be the inner child, the mother, the father. If you think about the alchemist, the magician, the wise sage, right? The lover. These are all examples of what we know at the conscious, and probably more importantly in marketing, the unconscious, what those type of figures are supposed to represent. If you think about the hero, right? If you think about royalty, the queen, you're getting a picture of what they have a certain traits and sort of often common values. And because they do have certain energetic traits associated with them, they're actually ideal to use to model a brand with aligned values to any of these traits in your business. And how we tend to do that is by actually analysing what your business's most dominant brand archetype traits. Now, at the moment, I have, you still can get the top two, but I have to be honest, because I have to change the software, it may be just you'll be able to test out for free the top one brand dominant archetype. But at the moment, you can get free access to my spiritual brand quiz. And that gives you basically access to the ability to find out what your main dominant brand archetype as a spiritual solopreneur. I started studying and exploring archetypes over 25 years ago. I've studied, like, lots of things like counselling, psychology, psychotherapy. But it wasn't till about 10 years ago I started to explore with a friend of mine brand archetypes on a different level. And that shifted something in me. I really started to understand the power of archetypes. I understood, what it represented on some level. I was always interested in how it was the psyche, and also in relation to all sorts of aspects of the shadow work. But when I could recognise that the depth, I knew that archetypes were used in marketing and branding by the most corporate, like the elite companies. But it was starting to break through to, getting more, I'm not saying commonly used, but it was starting to break through into other industries. And what I recognised was it was a really simple way of the audience being able to understand what that business was all about. Because often in marketing, you can have a split second that people just to come across, for example, they might scroll through Google and just come across your website. And often you have sometimes literally seconds to make an impression or they move on. And it can be like that on social media when people come across their feeds is so busy with so many feeds of information and so many different things that if your brand doesn't make an impact, then you potentially have lost a potential customer or lead. But if your brand can make an impact, but also not just make an impact, be easy to be remembered, easy for the brain to process, and for it to, in many ways, that brand give that person some sense of trust and alignment, well, that you have saved yourself a lot of money and you've potentially made yourself a lot more money. And that is why I talk about a lot that taking the time to get your brand right and, working on your brand is a really valuable asset. And often it can double, triple, it can even 10 times your income. Because what it does is helps you stand out, helps you to be remembered, which is extremely important in online marketing, but also can quicken and deepen that client connection trust, because we know people buy off people, but it's not just as simple as that. Because, for example, I meet lots of coaches, healers, therapists right away. And of course, there's certain key values, core values that some of them right away we can have that are similar. And that, often we're more likely to buy off over the, in relation to the person's core values. But also, I could really like someone, but their product or service may not have the core values or traits or the extra things that I would really want from that product and service. And one advantage that the consumer has in the spiritual sector today that they didn't have when I started buying in the spiritual sector and, getting healing and buying training over 30, 32, 33 years ago, was that they have far more choice. And people are accelerating in their awakening. In fact, many people even new to the spiritual community are becoming often more fastly awakened than some people that have been doing things 20, 30 years, because they're open to evolving, right? And they're coming in with maybe not as blocked mindset or a limited or a one kind of set view. But the reality, no matter what, is that consumers have choice, and at a soul level, people are want to work with people that they really feel as if they have a deeper connection and that they trust. But also, they want to make sure that they have the right product and service exactly for them. It can be easy when we build our business and we build our products and services and we love what we do and we're so passionate about all of the skills and the gifts and courses that we do and the tools that we use. We often think that, often it can be very easy for us to think, oh, wow, there's nothing better than this and this is amazing. And we want our audience to experience that. But we are not an exact match for everyone in our products and services. And some of our products might be aligned with some of our clients, and some of other products might not be. And so, what you have to do is have a strong message, a strong brand that helps convey things much quicker. So, a more soul aligned spiritual brand has to have the right colours. And it's not just about colour. People misunderstand. They think, oh, so if I do this type of business, I should have more greens or blues. A green and a blue that is bright can be completely different from a green and a blue that's quite dark or soft tones or pastels or muted. They can have different representations. So that's not as simple as that. In many ways, it's the general theme and style and what you're trying to convey. It's a combination of things. And the more that you understand the energy blueprint of your business and what makes your business unique and those client attractors that are really, really important to your soul clients, and the more that you can build a brand around that, you've got the perfect connection, right? But what people make mistakes about is branding is they tend to brand in relation to just the colours that they like, maybe colours that are in, or colours that and maybe emotionally they could be doing with to help support them, or fonts they've always liked, fonts they might use, or it could be styling that they would like for the house, but they're not considering what is going to make the impact and what is going to really align with their audience and help them feel certain types of things. And also sometimes a brand evolves and changes, because sometimes we can be in a certain lane, but for example, the products change and the actual offering within that service changes. So it's a different type of clientele, or the audience are requiring a different solution or an up-leveled solution, right? And obviously what you always want to do is base, first of all, your business brand on the main foundational aspects of your business. And I would suggest for most people that is how you get people in the door. So, for example, if you are a Reiki master teacher, right? Many Reiki master teachers, first of all, people come to them either for Reiki or they come to learn Reiki. Now, they may have been a Reiki teacher for 20, 30 years and are actually doing other more evolved types of healing modalities or other things. But guess what? They still get a lot of most of their audience through that pathway. So the reality is, no matter what way you look at it, is you want to be marketing at where that first point of contact is, that where you're getting your most of your consumers come in and your clients come in the door. Because in that type of work, you can have clients coming to you for years because they come from one, it's like they come in from the beginning of their journey, their spiritual journey. And then you can end up having a very, what they call a more longer sales journey, that they keep buying other products off you because they like what you do, and many of them will stay on and do other things. Another business that offers only advanced things. So, for example, there's some of my products and services that tend to be mostly aligned with people that are only 20, 30 years in as a healer, a coach, or a therapist, right? Some of my products and services. And they types of products and services are more niche and more, so they actually are not going to have as many people coming in through the door in one perspective, if we look at it, than the person who has the people that come in from the beginning. And there will some people that come on the long journey, and then there's some people that will come a little bit of the journey, halfway along the journey, or some people go the full run. The people who are actually working and selling from the foundational level and working up, actually some ways can have a more potential growth in many ways. Now, I'm not saying it's as straightforward as that, but what sometimes people focus on, they just want to focus on the end products and services or clients at a more advanced stage, but they're not marketing at the right level. So it's so important that you understand where your focus is and where you're building your business. If, for example, you are going to be doing away with certain products or services, or only giving certain products and services for free or at low cost, and your main paying clients are going to be the more advanced level, yeah, your brand's going to maybe, you might want to market your brand is going to be different. But it's really important that spiritual brand is as honest as possible, but that doesn't mean it has to be boring. That doesn't mean it doesn't have to be creative or attractive, right? Soul aligned literally means it is soul aligned, that it's not just in your head and it's not your ego. And the good thing about working with archetypes give you a way to be able to feel into what feels right for you within those archetypal traits. It's not like someone saying to you, oh, see, because you're a sage, these are the only colours that you use, and these are the only traits that you have. It's not like that. We give you a kind of rough draft of some of the typical energetic blueprint, that some of the ways that it shows up, and you feel into it and you design it around how your business would use that, right? I see nowadays, I've been teaching spiritual marketing type approaches for about 8 or 10 years, and I didn't buy the spiritual marketing club domain right enough till, I can't remember, was that 6, 7 years ago? I can't remember exactly, right? But I had been doing loads of courses and things like that, and doing it as an extra sideline to my business. And one of the things that I've seen lately, a lot of the terms that I use, like soul clients and spiritual marketing and soul aligned, very few people used it. I see it used every single day on so many levels, but I get very disappointed because I go and look at something that I'm interested in. It's supposed to be soul aligned, soul clients, and then I look at it or I buy it, and I'm so disappointed because there's nothing about it that is soul aligned, right? And it's just using the older strategies and packaging as if it's soul aligned. Soul aligned is about getting your essence, and it's about getting out of the ego as much as possible. Now, that doesn't mean I do teach people strategies, because the reality is we're still living in this certain In some ways, we're still living in the kind of 3D, and we're having to work with the system till we move out of certain ways of doing things. But if you think about strategy, it can be like a science, and in some ways like mathematics. Like, there's equation to things. If you do certain things, you're more likely to get a reaction or action, right? And if we look at strategy as a process just to make things easier for not just you but the audience, that's what helps. One of the things is a lot of people get into their head that if it's a system in relation to a business and a marketing system like lead magnets and all that, that is icky. But what they don't understand is most consumers are so overwhelmed, right? And they're looking for the solution to their product or service. And you might think by just showing up with a little video and a little post, if they're meant to find you, they'll find you. But it's almost like, if you can imagine, you go to a party and most people are all dressed the same and it's a huge party, right? And you want to find your soulmate, right? But you're wearing almost the same as what everybody else is wearing. And you don't you're not willing to put your head above the parapet. You're not willing to go and stand in the best place where they're going to see you, and you're not going to make, or you're not willing to make it easy for that person to find you or to get to know you. A good brand helps your audience get to know you much quicker, faster, and more effectively. And then obviously a good strategy in your brand and in your business helps take them along a pathway. So, your brand is just part of that. And then, then there is other things. But if you don't have a good brand, you're not going to really stand out from the crowd as much. It's going to be harder for people to see you, remember you, and it can take a lot longer to get that audience to actually buy from you. And we're in a situation where we're seeing a lot of changes in society, even on sorts of things, financial, the way that people do things. You want to make it easy for people. You want to also make it for yourself, because once you have a strong brand, it's easy for you to create content and repeat your message. And that's what effective branding is all about. Now, I'm going to add some resources in relation to spiritual brand, and the most important resource for this video is being able to identify your most dominant brand archetype. And I would urge you, even if you've used other brand quizzes before or other archetype quizzes before, to take my quiz out of curiosity, because it has been designed specifically for the spiritual entrepreneur, for coaches, healers, and therapists. Because one of the things that I saw with a lot of my clients was that some of the more commonly known archetypal brand quizzes were not fully aligned with the type of service that they were offering, and they didn't feel it just 100% was aligned, where a lot of people who've used my quiz have felt more comfortable what's come through with that. So I would urge you to take the quiz. And just to remind you, there is the Spiritual Marketing Club membership, and the Spiritual Marketing Club membership has a plethora of modules worth thousands of pounds of all sorts of content that you can access on a monthly basis. And it's a great way to, if there's lots of things that you need to address in your business, that you can go in and just dip in and out in what you need. And there is different levels to the different levels of content. If you choose to go for the platinum level, you get also access to my Workers Toolkit, and you get access to monthly group marketing sessions and coaching sessions. Okay, bye for now.